Do you guys have all your questions ready? I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I was like, no, if nobody has questions, we're like, we know our frequently asked questions, like already the top questions that people ask. So, all right. So Charlie, you tell me when you're ready. Oh, good to go? Okay. All right. Oh, wait, is this thing on? Oh, it's not loud. It's just, okay, so I can hold it. Okay. So I look super professional. Okay. Well, thanks for coming tonight, everybody. This is, come up and sit close, so it looks like a few people are here. Welcome to A&N Mortgage and the She Shed. My name's Maria Kennedy, as you guys all know, because most of us know each other. And we just wanted to throw together this event, the ABCs of real estate. Think about any questions that you might have, just anything. We've all been doing this for a very long time, and we can answer anything you guys need to know. So let me see, okay. All right, so this is just a little bit about me. That's my husband, Scott, my daughter, Layton. I'm one of 8 children. I love volunteering, so I volunteered for Habitat for Humanity, the Women's Build this year. A&N celebrated 20 years in business. And Nina Vlamas right here is the owner of this company, and this is her office. This is her office. I wish it was my office. And I also lead my daughter's Girl Scout troop, among other things. So let's see. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, and I've been licensed since 2004, and I've worked here for 11 years. I'm a 5-star professional. And I was a Loan Officer of the Year nominee for Chicago Agent Magazine in 2022, which was very exciting. I was very shocked, but very excited. I'm licensed in 13 states. If you guys know anyone that needs help in these states, people often ask me, like, I'm going to buy a second home here or there. So basically, anywhere where people would want to live, that's where I'm licensed. And, I often am asked, should I buy right now? Rates are up. Actually, rates are coming down now. And some of these stats are just, really good reasons to buy. Just home values going up, the rent going up over the last, 12 months. Lots of things. So I'll touch on some of those later. So basically my general lending process. First, I like to meet with my clients over Zoom or in person. And then we just kind of talk about their goals and things like that, analyze their credit, income, and assets, and then I can provide a pre-approval letter. I always tell people when I give a pre-approval letter, it means that you're definitely getting the mortgage, because I run your loan through an automated underwriting system to make sure I get an approve, because I don't like any surprises in this process. So I issue the pre-approval letter. Then once you're under contract, you can lock in an interest rate. People often aren't sure if they can lock a rate before they have a contract. There's ways to do that, but it's always like a higher rate. It doesn't really make sense. It's best to wait until you are under contract. Then once we get additional documents and you've signed your application and we've gotten an appraisal, then we get your approval from underwriting. We have in-house underwriting. We know our appraisers. Everything is in-house, and then we sell the loan about 2 weeks after closing to one of our loan servicers. We work with major banks, like 30 major banks, Chase, US Bank, Wells Fargo, Fifth Third, lots of those. But you can always reach me after closing. I'm always available to my clients. So I've been doing this for 18 years, and it's very rare that I would not speak to a client again. So then once the underwriter will ask for a few small things, we send those back to them, and then we get the clear to close. So that's always a great day when we get our loan commitment and clear to close. And my door is always open, so I always tell my clients, I don't work on a huge team. You're not going to get passed around. You will always talk to me. You can text me, email me, call me. I typically answer texts until about 10 o'clock at night. If it's an emergency, just call. It's fine. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. So I'm going to pass it on to Olin, our real estate agent here.
Thanks.
Here, and then we'll just hit down.
Okay. Okay, hey guys. So after you've gotten your approval with Maria, then the next step is to talk to an agent. So my name is Olin. I've been with At Properties for about 13 years. I started out in the residential rental business, and so I understand how buyers think when they are going from renting to buying, which makes a really great advisor for you to understand that process of the next step. At Properties is the #1 company in Chicago and in Illinois by volume and market share, which I'm super proud of. And I love this company and all of the resources that it offers both to me and to my buyers. A little bit about me, again, 13 years in the business. I run a small team of agents at my company called the OSC team. It's just Olin Sells Chicago is my brand. I have my motto is concierge level hospitality. And a lot of people hear that and might just think it's a dad joke or a pun, because it is, but it also is exactly what I do. I really serve my clients with hospitality and making sure that they really understand the process from start to finish. I think it's super important to be handheld all the way through the process, even if you bought 1, 2, 3 times before. And so offering that concierge level service is something that I've become known for, and I really, really like doing that for clients. A key is that I've been a renter, a buyer, a seller, and an investor, so I don't just talk about stuff. I've actually done it, and I know it, and I can explain, and I use real world examples and things that have happened to me to make sense to people, so I'm not just talking. I love working with buyers. People usually ask me, is my business buyer or seller heavy? And I'm about 50-50 as of right now, but I love working with buyers because it's just a special place in my heart. This is my team. So I'm the team lead, and then I have 2 brokers that work with me, Lewis and Lauren. If ever you want to see a property and I'm unavailable, I can send one of these guys to be with you so that you don't miss the opportunity. And you also might get to meet my mascots, Madison and Boone. I don't have children like Maria, but these are my little girls, and they are the official mascots of the OSC team. I've been in the business for 13 years, which tells you guaranteed I've seen almost everything that's happened. So I can really, really use that experience. I myself have been outbid on properties and been in multiple offer situations and had failed inspections. I've had a lot of those things happen to me so that whenever it happens with a buyer, I can make sure that they feel comfortable and explain honestly really what that situation is going to lead to the next step. The people that you're hearing from tonight, and even some of our friends that are here visiting, I've aligned myself with fantastic people to build a team and be able to offer that. From the vendor side, like Maria and Charlie and Calvin that are going to talk tonight, to people that you might not need until down the line. It's kind of like the network is just grows whenever you want to know the next person in line, and I can refer each person to you throughout the entire buying process. Like Maria, I do an initial buyer consultation at the very beginning so that you really understand what first and next steps are and answer questions. And then the concierge level, again, goes back to the idea of I like driving people around. I like making sure that you know the area you're in. If you want to do a tour on a Saturday and know the area and then go see properties on a Sunday, I can do that so that you feel comfortable knowing where you're at and familiarizing yourself with Chicago and Chicagoland. And again, just hand-holding until closing day. So I look forward to answering questions. If anybody has questions, we're going to do Q&A afterwards. So from mortgage to realtor, we're going to now pass it off to Charlie for the inspection process.
Yeah, look at that handsome guy up on the screen. My name is Charlie. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. We have 10 inspectors in our company, and I'm going to try and go through a whole bunch of slides pretty quick. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we live in Wilmette. My wife's great-great-grandfather built that house and the white one next to it and the one where you can't see off to the right. We've owned that property since 1890, basically, or it's been in her family. So we gutted everything else and put up a second floor. I wish I could show you what the rest of the house looks like today, but that's a little bit different. Olin was talking a little bit about passion in the real estate business, and that's really the key. And there's a lot of people that are in this room that really believe the same thing. You know, everything is about passion and helping other human beings, and that's the key. And the better you do for someone else, it usually turns out to be the better for yourself. So what makes us unique and different? We only allow our inspectors to do 1 inspection a day, just because we don't know how long it's going to take to do a home inspection. We run into houses that have a lot of issues in it, we're going to spend time. We run into a client that once they have a longer discussion about what it is that they're going to buy, we're going to stay and talk. All right, we don't want our clients to feel rushed. We work for those reviews, as crazy as it sounds. That's our way of telling us that our clients are happy with the services. We don't want to put any pressure on anybody, but we definitely want to ask for those reviews, and we got about 1,600 five-star reviews, and they're consistent. You can read them up online. People are writing books, they're posting photos. We really go out of our way to help our clients. One of the other things is we do not write our reports on site. We do the one inspection in the morning, we go home, we write the report, and then we deliver everything to the evening. And then I personally end up doing a Google Meet with our clients so that we could talk about the cost to cure of the issues that we found and how important they are. So questions, if you're looking at home inspectors, things that you want to ask them is, do they walk the roof? And if they don't, or if they can't, what's their backup plan? We do try to walk up roofs, and everybody has a pilot's license to operate a drone. Ask them if they use tools such as thermal imagers, combustion analyzers, gas detection, moisture meters. The state law says we only have to inspect one window per room or one outlet per room. And to me, that just doesn't cut it. So we try to hit every single window. Talk about photos, videos, and putting price tags on things. There's a lot of people that don't want to do it. Insurance is not mandated for home inspectors. So we do have general liability insurance up to $2 million. And I take that back. They just started mandating insurance for home inspectors, just general liability, and that's up to $100,000. But we're not required to have errors and omissions insurance. So we do provide warranties for structure, mechanical, sewer, mold, roof leaks, and then we're always quick to refund the money if anybody's unhappy with our service. We also own a home inspection school. We do pre-licensing for home inspectors, CE for home inspectors. We give a lot of free classes to real estate agents. Our goal is just to get as much knowledge out there. And if there's anybody who wants to get one of these classes, and I know we're broadcasting live, just reach out to me. We'll make it affordable. The more you know, the more you're worth, and the more power that you have and the more leverage. We host a radio show on WCPT AM 820. It airs on Saturday mornings at 6 o'clock, so make sure you set your alarm clock for that one. But we do go live when we record it on Wednesday mornings at 10, and we'd be thrilled. So if you have a phone, please put me into your phone. All you got to do is scan that QR code, and you'll have all my contact information. If you are on Facebook, please do a search for Charles Belfontaine or Chicagoland Home Inspectors or the HomeBuyers Hour. Give us a like and tell us how much you love me. And that's all I got. So Calvin is next, and you're going to be in good hands.
I hope so. Hi, everyone. I'm Calvin Hupp, Allstate Insurance, where my wife and I own multiple insurance agencies. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about the home buying process where we fit in. So where we're going to fit in is going to be I guess I'll start with, we've been in the business for 8 years now, so we opened our first office in 2015, second office quickly after that, 2 years later, then another third office. So been in the business a long time, built up. We started with zero, and we're well over 4,000 policyholders, so 4,000 households that we insure, and over 7 million in annual premium. So lots of business. We've been doing it for a long time. We've seen a little bit of everything, is why we bring that up. We're very much family owned and operated. Our daughter is going to be the service person that's answering the phone for you. So it's very much something where, you're getting good customer service. We really believe in that. It's not something that we just talk about. It's something that we live every day. What we offer is a customized insurance quote to protect your home, your family, your belongings. Buying a home is usually the biggest investment that people make in their life. So it's important to protect it the right way. We're really going to over-educate the customer and kind of get into what every coverage means and what every coverage does for you and how it's going to protect you. As far as experience, we're actually going through a pretty significant home claim right now. We had a house fire for almost a year ago now in April. So going through that entire process has really taught us that much more as agents to be able to help our customers and make sure that all the appropriate coverages are there and protecting the families the right way. As far as the way that the process works, so once Maria pre-approves somebody, we'll help out at that point and help with budget, help as far as, if you're picking different houses, you're ready to find that house, we can budget it out for you. We can quote this house, quote that house, quote them all to make sure that everything fits into the to your budget. So this is how you get in touch with me. Anybody interested in a quote, that's our QR code to scan for a quote. So I'm not like Charlie where I've got it on Facebook. So that's it, and I guess we'll turn it over to
The Q&A.
the Q&A, yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to go or you want me to?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, so I guess I'll hold this. So the idea that we did this, do you want to? No, just that.
Put on there, please, if anybody's watching over the internet has any questions, just type it in. We'll be able to see.
Yeah, so a lot of people have the option to do a first-time homebuyer seminar, and that word sometimes scares the hell out of people because it sounds more formal than it should be. So we really wanted to, between the four of us, really just offer something a little bit more casual. And as I say that, Calvin's over here like hiding behind the thing. You can sit down, relax, sit down. We wanted to make this more of like just a Q&A and kind of do something fun with it. And so when it comes down to the ABCs of real estate, what we really mean by that is just going back to the basics. Like literally, whether you've never bought, whether you've bought once or twice or three times, you can still really learn a lot about that process. So we wanted to put these four individual professions together and answer questions. So no matter how silly you think the question is, we wanted to open the room up and answer anything you have about any of the four processes, and we can pass the mic or if you guys can hear us. So does anybody have an immediate question they want to start with?
Maria, what's the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. So pre-qualification just means that you've talked to a lender, but they haven't checked your credit, income, or assets. So it really does not hold much weight when you're putting in an offer. You will be discounted immediately if you only have a pre-qualification letter. You want to get a pre-approval letter, which is what I do, and anyone that's really good at their job does. And it means that I have taken your full application, I've checked your credit, income, and assets, and I've run your loan through the automated underwriting system. So that means you'll have an approval from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So the pre-approval really carries a lot more weight when you're submitting an offer, and you'll be much more likely to have your offer accepted. Great question.
Yes.
Tony?
Question for Calvin.
Yes.
With as much experience as you have in the life experience that you're going through now, for a first time or second time or third time home buyer, is there any additional coverage you would recommend for a new buyer or someone who doesn't know anything about homeowners? Repeat the question.
Charlie, I want you to repeat the question. Oh.
Yeah, this is for the recording.
So the question was, is there any advice that I can give for the first time, second time, third time home buyer? Is there any particular coverages that might fit? So when we quote a household, again, going through claims that we've gone through, it's really important for us to make sure that everything is covered properly. I know some of my competitors will do things like give you a lower dwelling amount just to be able to get to your price. For us, it's not necessarily price driven. It's going to be, we're covering you the right way. And if our price isn't good enough for you, unfortunately, it's not a good fit. We're going to make sure that we have the right coverage for you before we have the right price. So things like dwelling amount, things like additional living expense, those are our coverages that we typically will push for and make sure that we're covering at the appropriate amount. Dwelling amount is going to be how much are we insuring your home for? If you have a total loss, how much are we rebuilding that house for? Additional living expense. The example that I'll give is Allstate's paying nearly $7,000 a month for us to live in a rental property because they're renting the furniture for us, they're renting the house for us, they're renting all of that stuff for us while our house is being rebuilt. So those are just coverages that are a must for us that some other companies may not always have on there or have enough of at least. So.
So is that a question that clients should ask? Like, what if there's a disaster? What if I have, like you had a fire? Is that something that they should ask when they're shopping around?
Absolutely. So, and Allstate does a really good job of protecting the customer as well. So when I'm quoting something, I literally have to put in how many square feet is a house, what type of house, is it a 1-story, 2-story, is it brick, is it frame, is it all of those things. So when I put that in, the dwelling amount, and that's the bare minimum. I get a lot of customers, well, my house is it's only a $300,000 house, and the dwelling amount might be $600,000. That's just how much Allstate, from all of the claims that they've had throughout the many years, decided that that's how much it's going to take to rebuild that house. So when people say my house is worth this much or $300,000 and the dwelling is $600,000, that's what it has to be. I can't. My system doesn't even allow me to lower it, even if I wanted to. I know some of my competitors do that, and they can actually go, like, if they have a, I don't know, like 600,000 dwelling amount, they'll put it at 80% of that just so that the number looks great. Well, for Allstate, we're not even allowed to do that. We couldn't do that if we wanted to. So we truly cover the customer the way that it's supposed to be covered.
I mean, you're protecting.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Does your process change whether it's someone with a home or a condo? You're asking questions and getting them.
No, great question, Olin. So the difference between a home quote and a condo quote, the condo is going to cover you from the drywall in and your personal belongings inside of it. The home quote is covering the entire dwelling, so everything, frame, from everything from the exterior to the interior. As to where a condo, you're just worried about the stuff inside and rebuild in, say, your kitchen, your bathroom, and not necessarily the structure of the home.
Any other questions?
All right. If we didn't get any questions, we were just going to do like our most frequently asked questions. So what is the most frequently asked question that somebody tells you or somebody asks you?
Yes. The most frequently asked question that I get is, do I have to put 20% down? So, and actually you can put as little as 3% down, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. So that's a huge question. You can put 3%, 3.5%. There's all different types of loan programs. So 20% is a thing of the past. So that's my most frequently asked question.
But
what about you?
20% down gives you what?
Well, a lower monthly payment,
There you go.
and then you won't have PMI. So you always have PMI if you put less than 20% down. So, but yeah, the PMI is not necessarily, it's like, I always tell people it's like homeowners insurance. If you have good credit, your PMI could be $20 a month, if you put less than 20% down. So it's not the worst thing. So it's best to check with me, and I will run all the scenarios for you.
My most frequently asked question recently has been, is it still a good time to buy? And the answer is, it depends on your situation, but majority of the answer is going to be yes. Rates for rentals are going up significantly. So if you can afford to buy a property, they're now putting that money back into your pocket. And even if the interest rate is a bit higher than you want it to be, which I'm sure is also another question that Maria gets, the option for the rates to go down and or refinances in the future are there. If you're still renting, you can't change your rental amount. But if you've purchased the property and then are able to refinance in a year or two, you can then go back and see that cost savings. I'm a huge advocate for buying if you are able to. If it is not within your wheelhouse and you need to take another 6 months or a year to save, I'm very honest about that situation if it comes up. But in Chicago, it is still a very healthy market as of today. It is much more of a seller's market, still kind of teetering toward buyer's market simply because of the inventory. And since interest rates are coming down and we're exiting the pandemic, at least temporarily, we'll see what happens with that. I know, from my mouth to God's ears and Oprah. But it still is a good time to buy. And a lot of my buyers have been getting extremely successful and not having to pay over list price recently, which 2 years ago, if you like the property, you have to beat out 12 other people and pay $50,000 over list price. So at least you're looking at this period in time. Yeah. Charlie, what's your most frequently asked question?
Ours is always going to be ancillary services. So, like, for example, radon testing. I'm an advocate for testing for radon. I'm just not an advocate for paying us to test for radon. And I know we're streaming this live, and I got a lot of home inspectors that are going to be listening to me, and they're going to want to beat me up for this. But the fact is, like, if we go to Lincoln Park, Lincoln Square, and we can actually access all the radon levels or readings that were taken in those areas, how many, what the highest is, what percentage is over the action level. And both of those zip codes are 0, So over 100 houses were tested. Not once was it ever higher than the 4.0 that required a mitigation system. So the real question is, should I spend $250 to work with a company like us to go ahead and do the radon test, and then I have a chance to negotiate for maybe up to $2,000, or should I wait till I own the home, spend $30 for the charcoal canisters, and I still would have a 0% chance that I would have to pay for the mitigation system in there. So we have the ability to look up all the zip codes in the different towns that come in there. Another big one that we get is sewer scopes people want to know about. It really depends. We find that roughly about 90% of clay tile sewer laterals have some sort of a problem in them. And then we also find that over 90% of the time PVC sewer laterals don't have any issues in them. So everything evolves in risk and rewards. How much money do you want to spend for what you're going to do to protect your family? All right. Another one is chimney scans, and I'm sorry. I'm pulling poor Calvin and his wife up out of the thing. We've actually had a house burned down after we did a home inspection because of a chimney fire. You're not alone in that stuff. We said that the fireplace was in bad shape and you shouldn't use it. It's unsafe to use. Our clients believed us, but the sellers thought we were just dumber than a box of rocks, all right? And I personally did this home. And I don't know what to do other than shrug my shoulders. So finally they went back and forth a bunch of times. They brought out one of the biggest chimney sweep companies in the area. They were coming on a Wednesday. This family had family over on a Sunday. They lit a fire in the fireplace because in their heart they believed it was okay. And you know where the story's going. The house ended up burning down. It was up in Libertyville. You could look for, Red Top Lane. I'll tell you the street. I don't care. It's public news. But you do Red Top Lane in Libertyville. We did the inspection on that one, and yeah, it ended up burning down. Obviously, the deal got canceled. So there's a lot of things, and I'm not into the hard sale, but if you're going to have a wood-burning fireplace with a clay tile flue liner, again, the odds of something being wrong with that are pretty high, whereas if it's a gas with a metal flue, the odds of something being wrong with that are low, and it's always going to be a risk and reward. So ancillary services are the biggest questions.
Same question that I asked Calvin. What's your biggest question from people who are buying condos and not single families?
I'd rather switch that up to the biggest complaints that we get, and that would be that we don't catch drafts that come through it. So with condos, especially in the high rises, the buildings move, all right? And because of which they ended up getting drafts around windows, doors, and glass, things like that. So we're really aggressive. You only get one complaint like that, and you don't want to get the second and third, so then you get ultimately aggressive when stuff like that happens. But the wind, when you get up high, it whistles and comes through there, and sometimes it's difficult heating, and people get annoyed by that. So I think that's going to be our biggest issue. And then also, what is my problem as a homeowner, and what is the homeowners association's issues? Those are the two things, and that's different from building to building. Cool? I'm going to give this back.
And then I guess the most frequent question that we get asked would be something like, hey, we have renter's insurance and now we're purchasing a home, so can we just, change our renter's insurance over to your home insurance? They're two completely different things. They're apples and oranges. Renter's insurance is going to cover your personal belongings, and that's it, nothing else. Your home insurance, again, as I discussed, is going to give you a dwelling amount, give you coverage for the entire property, coverage for all of your personal belongings, all of that stuff. So even if you have homeowner's insurance, that is very specific to that address. So even if you're buying just another house, it's a whole nother policy, whole separate, issue, or not issue, but whole separate policy, whole separate coverage, because every home is different. So.
All right, so I'm a renter and I have a car with Geico insurance. Why should I come and change over to home insurance with Allstate?
First of all, I'm sorry. So that. It absolutely is. Yeah, one of our biggest discounts is going to be our multi-policy discount. So anytime you're doing that, it's always best, and it just makes sense. You're going to make one call. You're going to call and again speak to my daughter, speak to myself, speak to Nicole. When you call, you're not calling a 1-800 number where you're getting anybody, some operator. You're calling somebody in our family, and we're going to be able to help you with every policy.
Does anybody else have any thoughts or questions about the buying process? Throw it out there. I'm sure we can figure out an answer. Anything. Yes.
Okay, I guess what I have to say is, what
Maria. The question is, do you start looking for a house first or get the pre-approval? I have shot myself in the foot before by letting a good friend go look at properties on a weekend without getting a pre-approval, and all of us were upset afterwards. And the reason for that is you might not know exactly what your buying power is. So I always tell people, even if you've made a relationship with me and even if you've already been playing around online and looking at properties, I'm not going to put you in my car until I have the pre-approval in hand. And the reason for that is, let's say that you have searched on some of those ancillary marketing websites, which rhyme with pillow and bedpan, and you see some properties that you like. They're $400,000, and you're like, "That's exactly what I want. 2-bed, 2-bath in this building, $400. That's my price point." And we go look at it, and you get your hopes up, and then we finally get the pre-approval, and you're only approved to $350. So it puts you in a position from the very beginning where you can be upset. So when I refer to Maria, I always tell people, tell her what your ideal monthly budget is between the two partners or one individual. What is your monthly budget? If you can afford $2,000, but you could stretch yourself to $2,100, then tell her you can afford $2,100 a month. Then what she's going to do is run the report backwards and say your pre-approval is $418, and it might be a weird number, which is not hard. A lot of buyers think in hard numbers, 300, 350, 400, or it's what they've seen online. So if you build it backwards and she gives you the approval for an exact number, then we can go out that weekend and start looking at properties within that range, and it won't disappoint you. So great question. I always say get the mortgage first. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. Because a lot of times when I check credit or something, there can be something that you didn't even know on there that you have to fix. Like a lot of times people have like a medical collection, especially if they're renters and they end up moving every few years, there could be something on your credit that you don't even know about. So it's best to have your ducks in a row. There's so much emotion involved in this process. And we really want to just take the scary part out of it. If you get your pre-approval, you're good to go. So you're not getting your hopes up and then you're not ready. And it's almost like if you don't get the pre-approval first, you're just like backpedaling. You're just kind of behind. So it's best to just get all that paperwork ahead of time, check the credit. I'll check the income and the assets and let you know your max purchase price, but also be mindful of what your budget is and what you're comfortable paying. People typically qualify for more than what they're comfortable paying. So we'll look at all of those numbers and what you'll actually need to bring to closing. So yeah, the pre-approval is definitely.
You just said something very important. People often qualify for more than their. So how do you break that down with people and explain, hey, you actually do qualify for this, whether you want to pay for it or not? Where's that discrepancy?
Right. So it's all about, we qualify people based on their gross monthly income. We all know that we don't bring that home. So it's like, that's sort of where the discrepancy lies. And then people actually are more conservative than you would think. So what your take home is, what you're paying monthly. When we're calculating what you would qualify for, we're not looking at like your cable bill, that doesn't come into play. Your, all of your utilities, different things like that, your cell phone, yeah, childcare. Like you might be spending $2,000 a month on childcare. That doesn't come into play when we're calculating how much you qualify for. So there's a lot of reasons to talk to a lender and get your pre-approval first, and then also to look at all these numbers. So yeah, that's why.
You mentioned about credit ratings, and you even use medical, collection companies to come in there. If somebody has and they didn't realize they had a bad credit rating, is that the end of the world? Do they got to wait 5-7 years?
That is a great question. No, if somebody has a bad credit rating, we can fix that. So I will run your credit through simulators that will say, like, if you need to raise your score by 20 points or 40 points, what can they do? What actions can they take? So sometimes it's just little things like you could have a bill where if you're carrying more than 20 to 30% of the balance on a credit card, that will drag your scores down. A lot of times people don't know that, so they'll just pay it down, and within 30 days, the score goes up. So there's so many different things that you can do to fix your credit. So.
Help them with that?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. I always create an action plan. That's why I always tell people, I'll talk to you for a year or two before you're ready to buy, and then you'll really be ready to go. So I stick with people. I don't like to. There's always hope. There's always hope. We will make a plan. You might not be able to buy tomorrow, but you will buy eventually. So, yeah.
How tough is it
for financing when there's a lot of self-employed people in the room.
Yes.
Right? When you're a self-employed person with fluctuating income with an on-season, off-season.
So
Or
we,
just fluctuating there.
yes. So first of all, I will get the last 2 years of tax returns is what they will use to qualify you. So I submit that to underwriting, and they will tell me what the qualifying income is. Now, if your income is declining from year to year, they typically will use, the lower year. It depends on if it's like if your 2022 income is going to be lower. And that also depends on what write-offs you're taking. So that's why I like to talk to people this time of year before they file their tax returns to give them an action plan. Maybe you're not going to take all those write-offs because you're trying to buy a home this year. So, so we look at all that. And then also we have lenders that will do bank statement loans. So we'll use 12 to 24 months of bank statements, and we will use deposits as income. So there's definitely another way if you can't go that conventional route of using the tax returns. Yeah, so there's always something we can do. So we also have relationships with credit unions, and they really look at people on a case-by-case basis, and they have a lot more flexibility than the major banks, that only use Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Should we do the raffles? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, yes, keep going.
What is the average timeline for
That's a good
pre-approval to, you're searching and then
Owen, do you want to take that?
From the moment that you get the pre-approval, are you asking to get pre-approved or once the pre-approval, then the process?
what's the average timeline from when you start the pre-approval to looking for your home or condo to closing?
It can fluctuate anywhere between 20 days is the fastest I've ever seen it to almost a year. And that depends on the client and what they're looking for. Again, once you have the pre-approval in hand, we're golden because we know what our allowances are and we can start looking. You can start looking immediately if properties that are the criteria you're looking for are available. Sometimes I'll take clients out to see 1 or 2 properties at once if that's all that's available. Sometimes it's multiple in a night or a weekend. Some people buy the first property they see. Some people it takes 60 showings. So it really just depends on the individual. Back in 2020 and 21, when there were 1 million offers all on one property, if you liked it, you had to write the offer in the car. It was that fast. And so the idea of, we've only been looking for a week. Is it weird that we're writing an offer? And it's like, no, if you really want the house and you want to go for it, then you can. I've also worked with some people for 6 or 7 months and they're just not finding what they want. So we just take it slowly. On the approval side, if it does take that long, then you are going back to Maria and continually updating your information so that it's always valid.
Pre-approvals are good for 90 days.
And if you hit that 90, then you just re-up it and you speak to her again and provide new bank statements and keep it going. It doesn't go away. But I would say, at least in my 13 years, I've probably written 10 offers for people who saw the very first property and wanted it. And it scares people sometimes, but it's if you've done it the right way, if you've been pre-approved, if you've been starting by looking online and narrowing things down that you want, and then you see what you want in person, and it's that guttural reaction, and you write an offer on the property, it can work out by being the first one. And I tell people not to be scared by that. I'll continue showing property until the day you say that's mine, but if you still go back to that very first one, it's the first one we saw, and it just makes sense for you. So,
I'd say the average time typically for, like, when I get from pre-approval to contract and closing, it's about 45 to 60 days typically.
kind of average, yeah.
Right, average. And we do have those people that have been looking for 6 months. Like, I'm just reaching out to everyone that was looking this summer and kind of gave up because there was so much competition, and now they're getting back in again. So I've had so many people reach out in the last 2 weeks, which is very hopeful for the economy and for the market. So,
Good question.
yeah.
When do you have to show, I guess, like you have the down payment in your account or you have the closing costs on your account?
Yes.
Like when you get the pre-approval?
Yeah, basically, but I will definitely, we like to see that you have enough money to close. But if you're getting a bonus in a month, and I know that you're not going to tell me something that's not happening because that wouldn't be helpful to either one of us. So we can count on that money. I trust my clients, and I'm always referred by, power partners that I work with all the time, like Olin. So yeah, typically we want it at the beginning of the pre-approval before I issue the letter. But if you know that money is coming in, we can work within that time frame.
Maria, I have a question.
Yeah.
If the buyer sees a home that has great bones, great location, but it needs extensive renovation, is there any option that they have for purchasing that home and rolling those costs into the loan?
We do not do construction loans, but we can refer those to construction lenders. It really depends on the scope of the work and how much work, what is it going to cost, you know? If it's massive renovations, they'll definitely need a construction loan. But we can always do the end loan. Construction loans are typically good for a year, and then you have to refinance and get a permanent loan. Mm-hmm.
How often do you run somebody's credit score when they pre-approval to close?
So credit is good for 90 days. A credit report is good for 90 days. So I would not, that's how often we would run it. And typically that is within, like, if from pre-approval to closing, that will be enough time.
So as long as I get my pre-approval, then I could go out and buy a new car, and before I get my house. Is that true?
No, that's not true. You know that, Charlie. So once you start looking for a home and you get your pre-approval, you do not want to make any major purchases. Sometimes everything's based on your debt ratio. So if you add a new car payment to that, or, you know, I mean, car payments can be $1,000 a month. So that really takes away from your buying power. And if your debt ratio is borderline, it can cause you to not qualify for the loan anymore. And that's another good point. Right before closing, we will recheck the credit to make sure that you still qualify for the mortgage. Some people don't realize that, and they'll be like, oh, I just got 0% financing, I don't have to pay for it. You're like, no, we still have to count a payment for that. So always tell people, don't make any major purchases, stay within like your normal, you know, whatever you spend monthly. Don't go outside of that before you close on the home. The day of the closing, you leave, you get your keys, you do whatever you want. You go buy a boat, go buy a car, it doesn't matter to me. No, I'm just kidding. That's a good question, though.
Are there any other questions? I also want to point out that the four of us planned on doing this event because it's just four very important stages of the buying process. It should not go without saying that we have a myriad of other people that we can also introduce you to throughout the process. So outside of the four people who've spoken tonight, if you need a real estate attorney, if you need an interior designer, solar panels put on your house, movers, if you need to do work to the property and do any construction, who am I missing?
Just about everyone.
We have literally so many people that are in our network and in our kind of family, if you will. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop, even to the point of move-in day and having like a party and having somebody cater it or having somebody walk your dog. We've aligned ourselves with so many other professionals that are outside of the real estate world that really kind of make it a one-stop shop. So if you're working with any of us or you want to work with any of us, before you just start Googling the next person that's in line, ask for recommendations, ask for referrals. They've been vetted. We work with them daily, and they're people that can work with you. So we have those people already put together. It just happened to be the four of us kind of answering these deep dive questions tonight.
And just to add to that, most of the people are the reputation of a person or a company is the most important thing that it can be. And when you refer somebody, then their work becomes my reputation is at stake on that. And that's like the most important thing to me is my reputation. I will not let anyone tarnish it. You know, so everybody that I partner with is a quality person.
Unless there's any other questions, we're happy to stay around and answer more. And there's a lot of food that Maria made. So
I made
all those cheese plates and
yes.
broccoli florets.
Yes.
Yeah, we just want to do. Oh yeah, we want to do a raffle. So are you drawing?
I'll draw.
Okay.